Yes, it does help. It helps when you have premature babies who are fighting for their lives. Yes, it does help if you want to help kids learn to read. Yes, it does help if you're a school who want to help your students to feel awake and alert in the morning and get a good night's sleep. Yes, it does help if you run a residential care home and you want to stop sundowning, you want to improve mental agility, you want to actually have staff who are able to cope during the night because it's not so agitated. You can actually reduce falls by 43% if you get the lighting right in residential care. So yeah, it does help. Oh, and if you have chronic pain, it helps that too. If you want to reduce medication costs, if you want to reduce the side effects of multiple medications, you can use light to help that too. What a privilege to be here with you all today. And so fascinated by these talks so far. I'd just like you to take a moment, because everybody here is passionate about light. Just take a moment to think about a significant moment in your life. The chances are that it included light. Imagine it might have been a bright sunny day when your child first learned to ride a bike, or it might have been candlelight when you first proposed to your beloved. Light is part of our lives, and all of us are here because we care passionately about it. And all of us are here because we see light sometimes used in ways which don't support our health and well-being. So I'd like to share a little bit more about that. I'm not sure if you remember, but through lockdown, all of my nieces and my godchildren and I were locked indoors without much light, and we started to see a rise in depression, myopia, obesity, lots, I'm not sure, certainly in the UK, it was desperate. And I knew that light could make a big difference. So I asked them, why don't you change the lights? Why don't you go outside? And they said, never heard about it. I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong. Have I got this wrong? I'm going to find some scientists. And because all the scientists were still at home, they weren't traveling, they answered my emails. So yes, it does help. It helps when you have premature babies who are fighting for their lives. Yes, it does help if you want to help kids learn to read. Yes, it does help if you're a school who want to help your students to feel awake and alert in the morning and get a good night's sleep. Yes, it does help if you run a residential care home and you want to stop sundowning, you want to improve mental agility, you want to actually have staff who are able to cope during the night because it's not so agitated. You can actually reduce falls by 43% if you get the lighting right in residential care. So yeah, it does help. Oh, and if you have chronic pain, it helps that too. If you want to reduce medication costs, if you want to reduce the side effects of multiple medications, you can use light to help that too. And as all of us who knew people homeschooling through lockdown, if you can create an environment where teachers can teach, then that will help too. In fact, as far as teachers are concerned, having a great place to work is as important, if not more important, than how much they're paid. And they're obviously not paid very much in the UK anyway, so anything we can do to help. It turns out also that the right light can help people who want to attract their employees. We all know that there's been a big problem with getting and keeping the best people, certainly in the kind of white-collar industries in the UK, lawyers, bankers. There's massive competition for great people. We know that the right lighting, and in a way, as you were saying there, Kevin, it's not just the lighting as a kind of a biological impact, it's actually an emotional impact. It's knowing that somebody cares enough to think about what you need. It's amazing what a difference the right lighting can make. So if you're trying to attract people, have a look at the lights. And as you mentioned there, I ran a social media campaign for the teens. I went, okay, I'm not wrong, this does work. And the scientists helped me to make a social media campaign. It went bonkers. In fact, we just made, I can't do YouTube here, But they're all, I've got a QR code at the end so you can log in to see some of the stuff. One of them was about, I basically designed it with my nieces online for my mother's bedroom by the sea because I was in lockdown. And they were all the arguments that my nieces needed to know to make a difference, to change. So they went, whatever. But I found something that they were interested in, which was things like getting better marks at school. You can actually improve their grades by up to 40% if they get the right light and get enough sleep. So, we can't do that one. But the teens said to me, look, that's all very well, we can go outside, but we don't buy the lights. Of course they don't. So what can we do about that? That's why we're here. It's an amazingly fragmented sector. The people who specified the lights for this building have probably never been in here. They certainly don't pay the electricity bill, and they don't pay for the people who run the stands here. There's a massive difference between, and then we have these crazy relationships which are based on finance, on relationships, on money. Oh, and there's the end user, right at the end. How did that happen? You designed amazing hotels. You never took, you designed that. You don't know what it's like to be somebody who cleans the rooms in that space. So that's what we're dealing with, is a fragmented sector. No wonder it's hard to get better quality lighting in buildings. How can we get people to make a change? Every time I speak to somebody about why they didn't buy better lighting, there are three things they say. One of them is, no information, not sure, it's not really true. The other one they say is, somebody else is going to do it cheaper. What's the point? And the third thing they say is, look, I'm busy. It's fine. It's legal. Leave me alone. Sure, you can't argue with any of those. But I thought, there must be people doing this. What can we do? We all know that we find it easier to exercise or do anything that we know we should do if we know that we're not on our own. So I went out there to find other companies who were doing it already. And I spoke to them. All of them incredibly successful, hugely respected, very financially savvy people. So they were able to use it to raise funds by developing the right lighting in a neonatal unit. They were able to use it to make a more successful, more financially viable residential care home. They were able to use it to reduce the energy bill simply by thinking again about lighting that was on at the right time, referring to your point there, the right time that's got to be all right. And staying in a gorgeous hotel, beautiful. But the money spent on materials is one thing. How about if you have gorgeous materials but don't spend money on the lights? That's got to be a waste. So I was lucky enough to work with people all over the world who said, yeah, actually, there is a good financial reason for this. And one social media campaign just went, loads of people. So I thought, surely, no, there are people interested in this topic. And then the TED thing, we've had 200,000, we've had lots of people. People don't find this boring, actually. So we're onto something if we want to do it right. But we all know in every choice that we make that very often it comes down to money. We want to reduce cost, but perhaps more importantly, we want something that's cost effective. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have got Macs or iPhones? Yep, some of you, yeah. Well, it's not the cheapest, is it? It's not the cheapest. And I was in Hong Kong yesterday and saw their store absolutely buzzing. They spend money on stuff. They spend money on the right stuff. And it pays off. So doing the same as everybody else and just ticking the box, it's not going to get you necessarily. It'll keep you alive, but it won't make you thrive. So what can we do now? So I was invited to be on the WELL advisory for light. I'm a well faculty, I'm a well advisor, because I know that these big decisions, like at Apple, they're made at the senior level. So I've been hosting a series of, and we know also that ESG, or environmental, social, and governance, is a big driver. You can actually raise money more easily if your company has good ESG performance. You can attract more people, you can actually save money on the environmental impact as well. And governance, like we know that if you don't provide good health and safety for your teams, they can sue you. So, it's a carrot and a stick here. So, host a series of those, great. But what about at the grassroots level? So I've been lucky enough now with Kia, I worked with a big construction company, helping them to basically in the early stages of projects introduce better quality lighting for students with special needs. And we know it makes a difference. Okay, but the teachers, when they buy lights, they have 6 weeks to make a decision. It's horribly pressured, and the construction company goes in with a better quality idea, but they say, nobody else is doing it. Somebody else will come in cheaply, we won't get the job. So now what are we going to do? So what I'm doing now is working with some architects and some head teachers in schools around the country to run some workshops with them. And I've recruited a couple of MSc students from UCL who are now studying that as well. So we have some proper evidence. And we're going to present that to the Department of Education. So we're going upstream. We're getting the head teachers to shop differently. And actually, one school who used better quality lighting, they were able to raise extra money for special needs provision. So that's got to be good. Let's try another one. With the residential care sector, we know also that makes a big difference, huge difference. And it just transforms the lives of the staff too. So I'm now working with a team, an international team, including Canada, Oxford, Harvard, a bunch of others. I didn't put all the logos on there. And a care home, and we set up a PhD. And what I've also been doing is running online events where people who are doing this well and can talk about the benefits from there are people who shop for lights for old people's homes, and they can see that they can see why they're spending more money. And we know that you need to see somebody else doing it, and you need to know that it makes sense. So we're also finding it can actually help you to win prizes for staff retention and recruitment in the sector, which has a 30%, I think it's 30%, sort of gap in the number of people being employed. So if you can say this is a better place to work, you won't be up all night dealing with sundowning and people falling over. That's got to be good too. So what can we do as a sector? One of the problems with the sector, I find, and I don't come from the sector really, I'm a kind of a blow-in, is that we sell lights as a product. And we all know that if you want to get fit, having the shoes isn't the point. It's using them. And you can spend a lot of money on shoes, but you need to actually know what you bought and why and use them correctly. So as a sector, we need to move away from selling a human-centered product and actually into selling a solution which is based on the needs of the person using it. And I'm just going to quote from the brochure for this event, which is, the greatest challenge for the future is not the unknown, but the ability to think outside the box. If we realize that people aren't buying lighting, they're buying a health intervention, they're buying a staff recruitment tool, they're buying an energy efficiency tool, suddenly the money's coming out of a different pot. And that's got to be good. And finding ways together as a passionate and inspiring community to enhance the value of light. And ultimately, pragmatically, and I love the way that they use pragmatically, it's not about tree hugging, it's not about something out there, it's actually, it makes sense financially. So, thank you very much indeed for your time.